I've always wanted a wood stove in my home, but I also want one out on the property as a fun feature and somewhere to sit and hang out. I found several creative ways of doing an outdoor stove on Pinterest. You can buy something called a woodsman stove from Amazon. This is a picture of the one my brother has in his backyard, which definitely makes for a fun meeting spot. One of the people I work with is really dialed into the estate sale scene in this area, and when I told her I was looking for a stove, she knew exactly where to go. I found an amazing antique stove that just needed a little bit of TLC. I started the recovery process by grinding off the surface rust and exposing the original cast iron. The process went a lot faster than I expected. You can see from this picture the stove is already starting to look better. The next step was to clean out all the old ash and restore the firebox on the inside. I uncovered the make and model of the stove, which is Atlanta Stoveworks Model 28. Unfortunately, I also found a small crack in the side, but that's okay because I'm using the stove outdoors exclusively. You can see here that I basically ground my wire brush into a nub with all the sanding that I did. After getting rid of all the surface rust, I started painting my stove. I used a high heat engine paint you can get at any hardware store, which works pretty well. After just one coat of paint, the stove started looking really good. Ultimately, I did 2 coats just to protect it from the elements since the stone will be sitting outside. After the second coat of paint, the stove is looking really good and is ready to have the pipe attached and the first fire to test and see how it's working. My father-in-law recommended starting with a very small fire to help the paint cure and to get any moisture out of the metal. That way I don't cause any more cracks. I picked up a small bellows at the local hardware store, which helps a lot getting the fire going, and is also really fun to play with. After the successful first test fire, we decided to warm up some leftovers on it. I used a cast iron pan and just stuck it on top. It worked really well and warmed up the food quickly when I got a rolling fire going. I feel like this was a really successful project and is going to provide a fun feature for my new property.